Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne qualifiers for day number 2, stage 2, as we today will determine 3 players advancing on to the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne.
That's right, an event which is happening in just a couple of weeks' time. Yesterday, we had stage 1 of the qualifier, where we saw a lot of good games, actually.
Yeah.
So a lot of different types and good games overall yesterday. But now today we are left with 16 players that are in stage 2 fighting for, as you said, just 3 slots. Not a lot for these 16 players. And there are some very good 16 players we have playing today.
Yeah, certainly so. Normally it would actually be 4 spots, but we already have Hero Marine determined through winning the EPS in Germany. So that is technically, aside from him participating in WCS Challenger very soon, it's going to be one of his first really top performances in terms of actually attending a Premier tournament.
That's right, it is. And who will be joining him at the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne? That's what we're here to find out today. We're going to be covering quite a lot of games with 16 players. It's a double elimination tournament, so that means each player will have 2 chances. If they lose one, they drop down to the lower bracket where they'll be able to continue their run. But of course, it would get quite difficult with the amount of good players that are playing today. And talking about good players, we already have our starting game. Actually, to be honest, we could actually have a look at the bracket.
Yeah.
To have a look at the games that we will be covering today. I'll just bring that up for you now. And we can have a look here. So we have the bracket seeded, as at the top left, we have 4GG, who is seeded 1 first. We'll be going up against Harston. Titan Happy is the second game in the order on the left-hand side. Stardust, Nerchio, Tafel, Grubby, Vortex, Strategy, Hansjobs, Damaga, Kane, who snuck his way in yesterday.
Yeah, yes, he did. Unfortunately, Welmu was not able to attend for personal reasons, so Kane and Elfie fought for the last spot yesterday, unbroadcasted, and then Kane was able to take that 2-0.
Yeah, and as you can see, there is the lower bracket. So we'll be having 1 player who will definitely move through to the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne, who wins the winner bracket. That will be the first player, and then the second and third slot would be determined at the bottom right here of the loser bracket. So that is our bracket for today. We'll be starting off with Stardust Nerchio. Each game, or each round should I say, will be played simultaneously, all at the same time. So we'll be starting in the round of 16, moving straight into the quarterfinals once we finish this Stardust and Nerchio game. And what a game it is.
Yeah, certainly so. They've got quite a coloured history between one another. Words have been exchanged. But Nerchio kind of, despite not particularly enjoying the style that Stardust plays, he always kind of gets pipped at the post when it comes to that earlier aggression from Stardust.
He knows exactly how Stardust likes to play, not just in this matchup, but his overall game style is always the same. Very aggressive, wants to win the game fast and early. But the good thing about Stardust is that his micro and control is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
He is good with executing his builds. And if he does have the chance to do so, he can beat you quite easily sometimes. So the key strength here for Nerchio going up against a player like Stardust, you can't allow him to be able to get away with these types of things. So scouting is going to be incredibly important for Nerchio going up against Stardust. If you can see what's coming, he can start to prepare himself for the eventuality of that.
Yep, a lot of people not having the easiest time against Protoss aggression as of late, though. So will Nerchio have been able to iron out those kinks in his gameplay? Because I believe it even toppled him during a WCS.
Yes.
So that's a tough thing to happen when it comes to the biggest tournament in Europe right now.
Yeah, I mean, these 2 players, just top-tier quality within the European scene. Nerchio, you know, before last year, I'd say in 2010, 11, 12, or probably his more glory days, we'd like to say, where he did perform, was a tournament winner, a tournament champion throughout those years. In 2013, though, was a bit lackluster for the regular Nerchio that we're used to seeing. He was, I'd say, quite a consistent competitor last year, but not a high-end consistent competitor. Whereas he'd always be finishing around the round of 16, sometimes round of 8, but never really getting too much further than that, unfortunately. But on the other side, we have Stardust too. Well, in 2012, 2011, and 10, I don't think too many people knew exactly who he was.
Nope.
But 2013 was his year. He went to that DreamHack Summer Tournament and just shot to the top, winning it. And from there on, everybody knew who he was.
Yeah, very impressive stuff. He was able to gain great acclaim from that point on. But in terms of what we see from Nerchio, you were mentioning that he was, he had past performances that were of a fantastic heights. But he's like a machine. I think in terms of the players in StarCraft, he has the most tournament matches played ever. I think it's like 3,300 matches or something insane like that. So he just never ever stops, plays in every weekly, every qualifier, and just keeps going for it.
And that usually would strengthen his ability to scout and defend against different types of all-ins, because when you play so many types of games like that, I mean, anybody can relate to it. The more you play, the more you get used to certain scenarios, and the more you can pick up on smaller details saying, oh, I've seen this before, which is probably the sentence you say if you've played thousands upon thousands upon thousands of games. Oh, I've seen this before, I know what's coming, and then you can start to prepare, which is definitely going to lead in favor of Nerchio here against Stardust. But can he actually prepare himself mentally to go up against a player like Stardust? Stardust doesn't necessarily need to play to his usual style. Does he have to be aggressive from 2 or 3 bases here? Or can he take it to the longer game? He's not as strong in the longer sense of the game. He's definitely at his best in the mid stages of the game, but we'll have to find out which styles both of these players do take to in this best of 3. Of course, every game being a best of 3 all the way through today.
Yeah, you do raise a very good point in that, in Nerchio's position, you could be mentally defeated because Stardust, for the most part, has a pretty strong winning record over Nerchio that Nerchio hasn't really been able to overcome. I would say it's a similar kind of thing that happened to actually Mana against Nerchio, but of the complete reverse. Mana just always had this mental block against Nerchio that he can never really overcome. So can Nerchio now just step it up slightly here and be able to spot what his opponent's up to? Because I feel that if he can grab that earlier stage of the game, then he'll have a good chance here against Stardust.
All right, so the maps that are going to be played are just the regular ladder maps that you usually play on. Altazim, Daedalus, Frost, Habitation Station, Heavy Rain, Polar Night, and Yunsu. And it is Stardust to open up the vetoes.
And he does get rid of Ultrazim.
Does indeed. Followed by Nerchio, who removes Yonsu, the smaller 2-player map. Quite dangerous for a Zerg player to try to take a third base down the right-hand side if they're playing to the bottom left, that is, because there is that higher ground which Protoss players like Stardust would love to abuse. The next map removed.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, from Stardust, the Protoss player here. Daedalus, see you later.
And then we'll see what Nerchio wants to go for. Now, I don't even mind Ultrazim going for Stardust there as well. I just think that Nerchio's a guy that does like his Mutalisks in the matchup from time to time. And, it can be very, very annoying to actually deal with. But
So two decently sized maps and, of course, size ramp removed from Stardust, whereas Nerchio's taken out Yunsu, which is the first one, and then Habitation Station, the second map veto from Nerchio, which means now that Stardust does get to pick the first map, which we'll be going on to in this best of 3, and we're about to find out which one that is. There's only a couple remaining, which is Frost,
Heavy Rain, and Polar
Night, and Heavy Rain.
Yeah. Now, I think it's interesting in terms of the map vetoes that we've had over the past couple of days. I think we've seen more of Polar Night than we used to. It was gaining a little bit more favor later on in the year last year, but realistically, people didn't really want to play on it too much. But now there's these new maps where people really don't want to play on, and then they don't have much choice to actually kind of go back and forth between things like Polar Night. So
I think Heavy Rain would be a nice pick here to start off the best of 3 for Stardust. Who gets to choose? Heavy Rain, I think, can be a little bit difficult for Zerg players because there is a lot of different pathways, but they're all very narrow, which can be controlled well by sentries. It's very difficult to get the true Zerg swarm to work well on that map, I think. Nerchio is just telling him which maps are left. Frost, Polar Night, and Heavy Rain, as mentioned. Which one is he going to choose? First, Polar Night.
All right.
So we're going to Polar Night, a map which is, surprising to be chosen as the first map. Throughout the World Championship Series last year, Polar Night was up there as one of the top vetoes from Protoss players in every matchup, really.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that third base, not exactly the easiest to take, but to Stardust stick to his old tricks and just go for some kind of 2-base play.
But do you have to pick your favorite map for the first one, or the map that you're more likely to win on as the first one, or would you like to save that? Because if we look at it now, it's Polar Night, the first map. The second one, Frost. And then if need be is heavy rain. So if it does go to 1-1, then he may have a more favorable map, if he even likes the map, to fall back on third place. But I think the general consensus for Protoss players is that heavy rain's not too bad of a map to play on.
Yeah, it's all right. I don't mind it either. And I've been playing a lot of Protoss recently. So anyway, yeah, as you said, Polar Knight, our first map, Nerchio and Stardust, just getting into this as quickly as possible. Also, before we start this, guys, here, for stage number 2 of the Cologne qualifiers, don't forget to head over to facebook.com/ESLTV and find the picture where Apollo is signing this lovely little sign in front of us, and leave a comment as well as follow that page, and you can have the opportunity to actually win this signed by a lot of the attendees from past Intel Extreme Masters.
That's right. Lots of signatures on that, so do get in there to have your chance to win it. So when it comes to this matchup then, Stardust versus Nerchio, we have this rivalry, this intense rivalry between them. There's been many a screenshot where both of them have been back and forth to each other, whether it be Nerchio calling out Stardust for not being very good, or Stardust calling Nerchio out for being bad-mannered, and back and forth there's been this rivalry. They've played against each other quite a lot. It has been back and forth when it comes to the results between them as well. Who do you think is going to take this then? Is it going to be the Polish player or the European invaded Korean?
I will have to edge my bets towards Stardust again. I mean, Nerchio, for all intents and purposes, is a very good player, and he did actually start. I mean, the start of 2013 for him wasn't that great, but then the ending of 2013 was a little bit better. He was trying to get back into the swing of things, but I still have to go with Stardust. Stardust's pretty good.
Well, 2014 is a fresh year for everybody. There's almost 0 results on the board so far when it comes to big tournaments, and this qualifier leads to a big tournament. Can they start 2014 strong? It's the season for StarCraft. We're just about to kick off with the StarCraft season. We've had Pro League playing and GSL playing in Korea, but it's now Europe's time to start the StarCraft action, and it starts here at the Intel Extreme Masters Europe Cologne qualifier. And this is to determine the 3 players who will play at the main event in just a few weeks' time. Both players are now ready. We can begin the first map of the day, first map of many of the day.
Yeah, certainly so. Not only do we have to go through the round 16 bracket, but we also have the double elimination bracket as well to determine those 3 spots onto Cologne. And just in general, I'm really excited for a lot of the Intel Extreme Masters action we have coming up. Sao Paulo, then Cologne, and then ultimately Katowice, which I said it yesterday, but it was amazing last time, but it's going to be so much more amazing this time with what we've got planned.
That's right, the Intel Extreme Masters has a long history. This is the 8th season over many, many years. And now in 2014, let's end this one with a bang. Just a couple of stops remaining. Sao Paulo, then Cologne before, as you say, the grand final in Katowice, that spaceship station stadium.
It is a UFO. It pretty much is a UFO. Yeah. It's kind of crash landed, but it's pretty cool. In the Spodek. All right, let's get into game number 1 of the day as we jump on to Polar Knight here. And spawning down in the southern position are Blue Zerg, representing Team Acer. He is Nerchio. And up to the top, we have our red Protoss, My Insanity's Stardust.
All right, so one of the reasons why this map not selected so often by Protoss players, just because it is a little bit difficult to establish a third base. As you can see, there's a lot of surface area around it. Can be quite difficult, but we'll see if that's a factor today.
Yeah,
I think it will be.
Yeah, Stardust is he can't play this too predictable. He can't try anything too shenaniganry against Nerchio, who, for all intents and purposes, is going to be looking out for a lot here. I'm under the impression that no good luck, have funds were exchanged. I didn't quite notice, but
no, of course not.
It's why do these guys have to get drawn up against one another in the first round? It's fate, Apollo.
That's right, and the loser would go down to the lower bracket. Could face off against each other later on. And it looks like Stardust has selected to go for the 13 gateway here. So a gateway expand, 1 or 2 gases viable from this position. To be honest, you could also go 0 gases if you wanted to play a little bit greedy here to try to get a faster nexus down. The first words, even after or before, sorry, the good luck, have fun, is sec.
Nerchio just needs to feel comfortable.
Eyebrow in my eye.
What? I'm under the impression he didn't mean his eyebrow.
That would be really weird.
That would be. Okay, Nerchio, thank you very much for the resume. Okay, go-go's have been exchanged, and now we have just a spawning pool first here for Nerchio. So he's not doing anything too wild, nothing too crazy. Wants to give his opponent a little bit of respect in tune to something like some aggression that Stardust could pull out with if he'd have gone Forge first, for example. And is going to play this pretty normal.
Yeah, the way these two builds interact with each other is that Nerchio will be going for this hatchery, but as soon as he sees his opponent has gone for the gateway style of opening, he'll have to throw down the gas, because with a gateway expansion, obviously he's able to unlock his tech a lot faster than if he tried to take a second Nexus here. So with the Cybernetics core down, means he's getting closer and closer to the Warp Gate research, which could be quite heavy aggression, depending on how he wants to play it. So Nerchio will need to prepare himself in case there is some form of attack that could be played from that. So the one way to defend it is to get an assimilator quite early on, or an extractor, should I say, for Zerg, to start to get to Zergling speed. The other way I suppose you could try to play it is quite heavy on queens. You could go up to 3 queens for defense outside of your natural location. That is another way to play, and that seems to be like he might be wanting to do that eventually. I mean, he's even moving out to take a 3rd hatchery quite early.
Yeah, he's going to take that on the low ground down here, so a little bit of a change up to past PVZs that we've seen. The majority of us, that 3rd one, normally go over here, but there's a little bit of preference here for Nerchio, as we'll push this probe away.
Yeah, should be able to get it too.
Yeah.
So he picks off that probe in the center of the map here, and we'll be able to take map control and also have a sigh of relief knowing that the probe is not out there building pylons anywhere, and he has an overlord on the other side where he can see if any probes were actually moving out from his opponent's natural. So he has got quite good control of this game so far. And one thing to note, he still is without taking extractors from this position, but Stardust is chrono boosting into the Cybercore. So we're definitely just going to see a bit of a poke from him here. He'll probably move out with a Mothership Core and the Zealot aided to help out the probe, but he's going to be putting on a bit of pressure here. And Nerchio will only, as mentioned before, have queens to defend.
And he just moved his Overlord away from the front there, so he's not going to see those double gateways at the front, but it is a total of 4 gateways. So I suppose if he'd have seen those at the front, then he would have fully understood that, yeah, there is going to be some pressure coming along, but he may have underestimated the potential pressure.
Well, 2 Zerglings are going to poke forward, and no, they do still don't see it. The Mothership Core pushes them back, and so here we have the Zealot Mothership Core with the probe moving out, and the pressure will begin here. This is gasless still, only queen defense, only slow Zerglings. And I'm feeling a little bit worrisome here for Nerchio.
Now, the interesting thing of all this is that unless Stardust, because I think he's going down to that bottom left to see if there's a 3rd over there, but there isn't. So he might just think his opponent's on 2 bases unless he's diligent about the scouting.
Yeah, I mean, usually you see the Zerg player take the base on the left-hand side here. 2 extractors have been taken as Nerchio's finally realized what's going on. He's seen the double gateways on the natural. He's seen that there are no gases taken there either. And he even sees the probe moving around with the Zealot and Mothership Core. He knows that he's about to be attacked. He's building a spine crawler, or he was building one. Yeah, okay, he is building one. And now a Roach Warren immediately for Roaches. But can he hold on? This is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, 4 Zealots warping in at any time here against just pure Zergling, well, with the spine crawler, as you said, being added on. But it's a little bit difficult, as well as the Mothership Core providing great support. That 1 queen falls down super fast, and there's more Zealots on the way.
And he's trying to take down this pylon. That won't work there. A lot of Zealots, and he can even warp in more. Behind this, there is a robotics facility, so a follow-up plan, probably an immortal attack, is in motion as well. But there's so many Zealots here. He needs Roaches to be able to push them back. And even if he does get Roaches out, there's going to be a time warp on top of them, which means the Zealots can reach them anyway.
Exactly. I've got to say that Nerchio is doing well to dance around with his Zerglings to buy time so that he can get these Roaches out. But still, so many Zealots.
I don't think he can hold this hatchery. It's going to be a miracle if he can.
And the Zealot's going to go to work on that spine crawler. That's going to fall extremely rapidly, as well as the time warp on a lot of those Zerglings. The Roaches have to move into the fray as well to deal with all of those Zealots. But a lot of the Zealots are actually focusing down the hatchery during all of this. So this could be quite helpful to Nerchio if he's able to pick off those Zealots at the front.
Yeah, not the best of micro here from Stardust. Did have quite a few Zealots, not spread very well, and as you said, taking damage onto the hatchery. But another time warp does go down, chasing the Roaches away. And more units have just been streamed in.
And this is not too bad here for Nerchio so far, trying to... Oh, very, very nice positioning on that spine crawler behind the mineral line, actually, just to negate the surface area that those Zealots can get on it.
But remember, the economy is absolutely terrible for Nerchio, who had to start unit production way earlier than he wanted to. Only at 31 drones, trying to squeeze out a couple more. And behind this, the Immortal production has already begun. He's got a second one on the way. He's hurt his opponent's economy so much at this point, where he's going to have to really focus on getting that back up so he can build enough units to deal with the follow-up attack.
Zergling's going to try and move forwards and catch a few of these Zealots on the retreat, as well as the Roaches also catching a few too, but how much does Nerchio know? He saw an Immortal just then. He saw the very edge of the glimpse. And, well, that gives him a lot of info as to what's going on. He starts 10 drones behind this, trying to get up to an economical position that is satisfactory.
Yeah, and I think with the third Immortal coming out, that's when we're going to see Stardust move out, still with a stronger economy than his opponent, or just about. Whew. Nerchio's going to have a hard time holding on to this next attack. A very difficult time indeed.
I really got to say, I mean, he bought good time with the Zerglings running around the Zealots in circles for those Roaches to come out. Because if he hadn't have done that, if he'd have just taken some straight-up engagement or allowed the Zealots to focus down on the hatchery, this could have been an entirely different story.
Yeah, but I mean, the reason he defended it was because he cut his economy so hard.
Yeah, true.
He was so low on drones. 30 drones is just incredibly low. Usually you try to defend these attacks with a much higher drone count, and this is where the real test comes from Nerchio. Yes, he cut his drone count, and he's able to get it back up to decent now, I suppose. 51 drones is okay to hold on to these attacks. But that's a lot of Zealots that, of course, Nerchio did survive with, that is still in this army. He knows exactly where to go here. Nerchio, is he going to try to go for... No, I thought he may be going for a counterattack with these Roaches on the left-hand side, but I think he needs everything he can get here.
Yeah, he realizes the angle of attack, so he's going to try and prepare for that effectively. There's only one Spine Crawler here, along with these units, to try and force this away. Not that many Stalkers in this army here for Stardust, so any force fields would have to ideally trap a few units in so that it can slowly break down that force here of Nerchio's.
That's a lot more units coming in. 3 more sentries, 4 more Zealots, for a total of about 13 Zealots and 10 sentries, with multiple force fields on them. So we're talking about 15 force fields available here. Great spread from Nerchio to start this off.
Oh, but not too bad force fields. Seal out quite a bit of that. Needs to throw down a lot more. This area, just in general, needs massive amounts of force fields to actually seal off a lot of this army, and does manage to catch quite a few of the Roaches up to the top left-hand corner. Also warping in a few more units to try and push this away, but the Roaches not doing too badly. Another nice set of force fields. Did let a few of those Roaches escape through, leaking through like a sieve. And, well, Stardust, he doesn't really have much energy left on these sentries.
No, he does have a time warp to use, though. He hasn't used any energy on his mothership core there. I think it would have been nice if he had. And here comes more force fields and more Zealots. Nerchio trying to build as many units as he can. 3 Immortals still live, though. Remember, that's the most important unit here.
Nerchio sets up a good concave, but the force fields negate a little bit of that. As the Roaches try and wiggle around the back, and they're trying to get to the pylon there for a second, but there's a warp prism there, so it wouldn't even matter.
The big units.
Oh, dear me. Immortal number 1 goes down. So will the second very quickly as those Roaches begin to berate away at it. But Zealots warping in on the right-hand side. But with the Immortals dead, what are you going to be able to do?
Oh, there is still one left, but it looks like Nerchio may have been able to break this.
Just too much area to cover with force fields. It's so hard to really be able to break that unless you get an extremely advantageous position, like right next to the hatchery or something, and use that as a big force field as well. But all too difficult there for Stardust in the end.
Yeah, well done, Nerchio, in this game, I think.
Yeah.
Really well done.
Well, the Immortal's going to try and find some damage elsewhere, but Nerchio for now knows that he is comfortable. He is droning up, he's getting his Hydralisk Den, and he's looking to put on counter pressure. While Stardust, he's scrambling, man.
Yeah, Stardust is in a very difficult position. Nerchio, from this point, can drone up further, can add on further tech. He's gone up to the Hydralisk Den and even starting to add on upgrades now.
And these gateways are going to plummet, as will those sentries in just a second once these Roaches get through. Plenty more in reinforcement. Hydralisk as well as Groot Spines just being added on to, well, not only shut down the Warp Prism when it comes along, but there you go. GG, Nerchio will take game number 1. And an impressive display of defense.
Yes, very good defense there from Nerchio. Never really saw what was coming, and I think he put himself in a bit of a difficult position from the get-go. He didn't really prepare for this attack to be coming, but he eventually was able to deal with it just about there and squeezes out map number 1 victory. But now we're going over to Frost as the second map here, a 4-player bigger map between these 2 players. This should be a good one, this next one. Do you think that Stardust plays similar when it comes to his aggressive nature, the gateway into the Immortal follow-up?
I think it can be so difficult on this map, like to traverse the entire map. If you, for example, if you spawn cross positions, almost impossible to really make that fully work.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a player like Nerchio, who's almost always going to be contesting the watchtower vision and the utilization of those. So I think we see Stardust go for a bit more of a macro play here.
Okay, well, let's find out if he's able to do so. But a good start here for the Polish Team Acer player, as he does take the first map in this best-of-3 against his rival Stardust, and in hopes to move on to the next round. But it does get more and more difficult the further the rounds go on, with so many good players within this tournament. I'm not actually too sure which player would be going up against in the next round. May I have a quick look? It would be either Teffel or Grubby in the next round. Could see a Nerchio Grubby game there. Could see Teffel versus Stardust, a couple of combinations to see. But Stardust does say within the game lobby there that good game, my control's too bad, and you know, I'd have to kind of agree with him a little bit there. It wasn't up to his standard,
No.
I think there. But, well, he needs to bring his standard if he wants to be able to beat Nerchio. Otherwise, we will see defense like that time after time.
Certainly so. Well, we'll be getting on to game number 2 in a sec here. Nerchio could quite easily take 2-0 here. I think this map will end up favoring him in terms of, especially if it's cross positions and he's able to just really kind of flourish across his side of the map. Nerchio loves to get into those mid to late game situations. He's very, very comfortable in them.
And remember that Nerchio did win on his opponent's map choice of first. That was the first map of 3, and it was the map that Stardust chose to play on. Nerchio wins that, but now we're going over to Nerchio's pick of the remaining 2 that were in the map pool for these to play on. So let's find out if Nerchio can win on his own map choice to close up 2-0.
Alrighty, well, spawning up to the top left-hand corner, we have our red Zerg. He is Acer Nerchio, currently 1 game up. And down to the bottom left, we have My Insanity's Stardust, both spawning on the left-hand side.
Yeah, both spawning on the left-hand side here. This does make it a little bit more difficult, I would say, for Nerchio to play the longer game here.
Yeah.
Because his 4th base, which is the most common one to be taken, is expanding towards the Protoss player, which can be quite difficult to be able to hold on to efficiently. So that would really force him to expand to the other side of the map, which is quite far away and therefore even more difficult to keep in contact with all his units to be able to defend it. So could prove difficult as the game goes on here.
Yeah, they're both kind of very treacherous to be able to hold a Zerg, you're right. I mean, just a single pylon anywhere on this side of the map is a brutal thing to deal with if you end up having to expand over to that 4th location. But I think, you know, Nerchio, if he does end up getting to that position where he's at 4th, he could expand towards his opponent and try and control those mid areas.
It depends how aggressive he's going to be in the mid game, because you could take that base quite early on and play it quite aggressively, because it is a closer hatchery towards your opponent, and you could waypoint units from there to be built to be aggressive. Another thing that is not really working in Nerchio's favor in these positions that they've spawned is that he's not really going to be able to get any good scouting information with overlords in this game.
Yeah.
Stardust looks like he's going to be going Nexus first here. And the regular follow-up would be Stargate from this position, because you can't be super aggressive with gateways, really. But in these positions, because the Overlord that is headed south, it will never be able to get around, I don't think, towards the main base of Nerchio. But then again, saying that, with going Nexus first and no units out there, you might just try to squeeze past and, you know, take a route which would normally get shot down by Stalkers or something. But in this position, maybe he can. That's something he will have to focus on with that Overlord, because if he doesn't, then Stardust has the option to do weird gateway plays, to maybe even throw down a weird robotics facility and play aggressive himself.
Yeah, you're completely right on that. And, you know, in Nerchio's position here, technically, I think he can get past with the Overlord to a more advantageous position, not have to go the complete long way around it. It's a bit of a pain to end up doing that as a Zerg player, but Stardust, for now, just ramping up a pretty normal eco opening from him. I mean, as you rightly pointed out, he still has a lot of options. Just taking the gas now to get those options fully open to him, and Nerchio's going to be scouting out diligently with these Zerglings.
Well, look at Nerchio's Overlord. He's actually content with keeping it around the natural area. This is kind of a robotic move sometimes, which happens, is that this is what you would usually do but I think it would have been wise for him to try to squeeze past, because there is actually time for him to get towards the back of Stardust's base without having to worry about a Stalker coming out in time. But he's going to keep it there now, which means he will not get any information from inside the main base from Stardust. Stardust could use this to his advantage.
And there is a probe heading out here for Stardust to have a look and see how many bases have been taken. He should be able to spot that third base as well. And luckily for him, he actually scouts in the right direction, so knows that his opponent is going to be spawning in those vertical close spots, whilst gets whiff of the natural. Going to look for the third.
All right, so does Stardust play this like a regular game where he throws the Stargate down? Okay, he is. So from this game, we should be seeing something quite normal. I wouldn't be surprised. Well, to be honest, it is Stardust, so he could throw down an Oracle. But the most likely unit to be played, with the 3 units you can build from the Stargate, the Oracle, Phoenix, and Void Ray, I'd be expecting the Phoenix. It's able to harass, it's able to scout, it's able to keep control of Nerchio. And most importantly, if you already have, let's say, 4 or 5 Phoenixes that you may build, you can use them later on in case Nerchio wants to play Mutilus, which of course is one of Nerchio's favorite units to play with. If he goes Oracle, he'd be looking to get damage done fast, and if he tries for Void Ray, then he'd be looking for a fast third base. But I'd be expecting Phoenixes, really.
Where is this little guy going? He's preparing for something later on, and he's not going to get spotted by this Overlord on the right-hand side. So this is a sneaky assassin probe heading on around the right-hand side. But there is an Overlord covering the entrance to the third.
And 3 gateways thrown down quite rapidly here.
Whoa.
So what we're going to be seeing here is a variation of the Phoenix opening, where you can play Phoenixes, but you're meant to be kind of taking the gases and going up towards the robotics facility, which is why he adds on the gases here. The gases are complete fakes at this point, because the Overlord's moving across and he wants to show the gases being taken, which would signify that inside his main base there's a robotics facility, and he's about to start to tech switch over while keeping his Phoenix production strong. But I feel he won't even use these assimilators. He'll probably let them complete, because it's kind of a waste of money if not. But I doubt he'll mine from them. And with the 4 gateways coming down, and especially with a probe up to the top right here, he's going to try to catch Nerchio off guard, because what some Zerg players do, they say, oh, Phoenix is great, let me just build more drones, because Phoenixes can't really kill all my drones, and you're not going to be following up with anything aggressive, because you should be switching to the robotics facility and Colossus. But in this case, with +1 attack being researched and 4 gateways done, he's going to be quite aggressive from this point.
And he's clearing out that Overlord that is blocking the third base from actually being assaulted, completely blindsided. So this is really nice play here from Stardust.
And I think I would wait for maybe 6 Zealots or something, 6 or 7 Zealots. I wouldn't just send them in one at a time. I'd let Nerchio think the way he's thinking, and then what I'd do is I'd save up the Zealots on the right-hand side and then go in and then just kill the hatchery.
Yeah. This is cool from Stardust. He's really crossing every T and dotting every I, as, well, Nerchio right now has no clue about this right-hand side. Even having the vision of the watchtower was just not enough. The probe snuck around so well.
16 lings are being made here. 16 lings are being made. He doesn't really know what's going on, but they might come out just in time here. Stardust is going to warp in a few more. He's got 8 in total, and now he's going to try and kill the hatchery. If he kills the hatchery, he gets a massive advantage in this game. But with 30-odd lings already out.
But the Zealots could get themselves in a very advantageous spot in between these minerals and the hatchery, so it's going to be up to whether or not he can position him.
That +1, it'd be so useful.
Yeah, it really would be. The Phoenix are going to go to work as well. Killed off the Queen. The Spore Crawler will end up falling as well. That give free reign to these Phoenix, whilst the Zealots try and do what they need to. And all the Zerglings, well, even the drones have to join the fight during this. 10 workers have gone down. But these Zerglings should be eventually able to clean up with reinforcements.
+1 attack is only 20 seconds away. He's chronobussing into the gateways to make sure he can build more and more units here. And I think it's, I think it might be stopped though. Just in time before that +1 attack.
Yeah, heavily supply blocked now is Nerchio, but he will clean this up and force it away on the ground. The air, though, is still being a bit of an annoyance, as he did kill off so many Overlords.
It was a nice attempt there by Stardust, but with Nerchio already building out Zerglings, he knew something might be happening, even though we never saw anything here. But he saw something might come, and he was able to deflect this, but did take quite a bit of damage. And now we see Stardust just going over to where he should have been anyway, which is the robotics facility and now the robotics bay.
And Roach Hydra is going to be the composition of choice here for Nerchio, as to go up against this from Stardust. The great thing for Nerchio is that he's, I mean, despite losing like 10 drones during that entire assault, or 14, I should say, you know, he's going to be blocking his opponent's third for quite a while.
Yeah, that's what these Zerglings are really useful for. Not only did they push back the attack, is that they can deny this third base for quite a while. There's an Overlord spreading creep down there as well. And how many Zerglings are there? 30 Zerglings, so it's quite a few here. Nerchio has shown, or Stardust has seen, should I say, the Hydralisk Den, but he has not spotted the Spire. And this is actually rather interesting, considering the amount of gas that has been mined already for Nerchio. Expecting his opponent to go over to this regular play of, you know, Colossus and Mortals, but he has chosen Immortals weirdly here. He's changed up his composition. I mean, he wanted to go up to Robotics Bay and just play the regular Colossus style, but he got Blink and then the Immortals here at first. And that's kind of nice, considering that there could be Mutalisk. Blink here is an upgrade you don't really see at this point in the game, and they will help out against Mutalisk, but there's going to be a lot of them.
And he's going to take his Nexus in a more aggressive position here for Stardust. The funny thing is he didn't even go down there and check if it was actually blocked. He was like, instantly, I'm just going to take this third as my straight one. So Stardust, I guess you know, there is the advantage of you're like attacking up that path also whilst defending up that path, so it's a little bit easier to defend.
Yeah. Well, he's also going to be aggressive from the standpoint. With the upgrades and the way that his army composition is starting to mold into, he's going to be quite aggressive with Blink and +2 attack. No Hydralisks have been shown to these Phoenixes yet, so I'm wondering if Stardust is moving out because he's very curious to be able to find out what the hell is going on, because he doesn't really know yet. He's about to see some Hydralisks, but that's not many. There are 13 now coming out, not Mutalisk, bear in mind, because the Stalkers have been seen. Nice switch up there from Nerchio. Yeah,
Stardust certainly has to back off here. I mean, a grand total of 20 Hydralisks, although that being said, one Colossus did come along with the army, and Groove Spines is not done, so it's 6 range against 5 there, if that Colossus was controlled properly.
I like I mean, this is difficult because the Hydralisks were built here because he saw the Phoenixes were still alive, Stalkers were being made, and it would be very difficult to make Mutalisk work in this game. But the problem is that there already is 2 Colossus out, so it's also going to be very hard to make the Hydralisks work in this game.
Whoa, and Nerchio decides, well, I'll poke forwards, see what I can get done, and then from there on, I'm just going to take 2 bases behind that. Very, very far away from Stardust right now. Yeah, I'll catch a Hydralisk. Get a few more.
He hasn't got range or speed. He didn't really want to build these Hydralisks, and now he's going to lose them. Yeah, GG. And it was just a series of mind games, really, that got the better of Nerchio a little bit there. He wanted to play Mutalisks, and I thought that was a good option to play Mutalisk, considering that a Protoss player would usually go into Sentry, Zealot, and Colossus mainly.
Yeah.
But then he was like, well, no, you've got +2 Stalkers coming out really fast. And then I can't really use Mutalisk, so I guess I'll go back to Hydralisk, which I was going to do anyway. But then I didn't upgrade them early on and out in the middle of the map and so on. But that's how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah.
It's 1-1.
I mean, some people out there may have said, why did he GG so quickly? But if those Hydralisks, they were always going to be stranded, right?
Oh, they were all going to die, and then he just dies to the counterattack.
Exactly.
The game was over.
Yeah, so a really tough spot there for Nerchio. And now we go on to a 3rd game to find out who will advance on to the round of 8 in the upper bracket. So, you know, I wouldn't have it any other way than going to a 3rd game here between these 2 players, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been quite a fast 2-0 if it had been like that. But yeah, game 3 is always good between these 2, and interested to see what happens now coming into the 3rd, which is going to be on Heavy Rain, one of the new ladder maps that some of you may not have played on, depends on how much StarCraft you've been playing recently. I'm sure you would have seen it on some personal player streams anyway. And I've had quite a decent amount of success with Protoss on this map. I do quite like it for Protoss here. And we'll see how this plays out for these 2 pro players. Yeah,
I think there's a lot of nice places for Protoss to utilize force fields properly and then, you know, deny that big surround that Zerg is always so desperate to get on any map. And
it's not too far distances between the 2 bases. There are rocks, though, that do delay pushes from coming. So I think this map can be played out rather long, but also can be played out quite short if, for example, we were to see an Immortal push or something along the lines from Stardust.
We certainly could do. Countdown's begun for game number 3 to find out who will advance on to play against either Tefel or Grubby in the round of 8. Meanwhile, the loser gets a second chance. Double elimination bracket here today. Not the same as yesterday, as that was just a straight, you got 1 shot, 1 chance. And then 3 people will advance today to Cologne.
Yep, 3 people. Can one of these players be one? Let's find out.
All right, game number 3. Let's jump right on in, as we do have spawning up to the northern position here as our lovely blue Zerg. He is Nerchio. And our delightful red Protoss, he is Stardust.
Yeah, so this map's Heavy Rain. It's a smallish 2-player map. As you can see, there are no other spawning locations for these players to land onto once they've loaded fully into this game. And I wonder which style of play Stardust will open us up with. Is it going to be Gateway, which has a lot of variations to follow it from? And with the pylon placement, yes, it shall be. So with the Gateway play, I do like this on this map here. There's a lot of different variations from building a Gateway first that you can swing down, whether it be just straight up regular gameplay, whether it be just the Gateway expansion to the Stargate play. You could throw down extra gateways, you could throw down quite a fast robotics facility or Twilight Council. Just a lot of different tech tree options to choose from here. And it's going to be very important, as all games are for Zerg versus Protoss, or should I say any race versus Protoss, to be able to find out and scout what the Protoss is up to. And being a smaller 2-player map, these overlords are going to be in pretty good positions. You know where he's spawned. The first overlord's going to go to the natural to check on the gases for later on. The second overlord can swing to the back of the Protoss base. But then again, still, even being a smaller 2-player map, there's a lot of surface area and space within the main base of the Protoss player. So there's definitely locations this stuff can be hidden still.
Yeah, too true. Too true. We saw that almost working out for Elfie yesterday on this particular map, but to no avail as, well, Jaxie's not too bad at scouting apparently. But Pylon's going to go down right at the bottom left-hand corner. So Stardust, what are you up to?
Well, he's taken double gases here, which is not the fastest type of Nexus play you can go with. So he's going to have quite a bit of gas income from 2 gases. He can easily go into 3 probes in each one of the assimilators quite early on. So definitely looking to throw some form of tech down quite fast. But then again, when you play double gases like this, it can be just to be able to go for the Stargate and Phoenixes as soon as the Cybernetics core is done, well, after the Nexus is done. But I wonder what this is going to be. This definitely could be something rather aggressive from Stardust. And of course, we know him as a player, he's aggressive. What is this all going to mean? And then the second of all is this overlord towards the back of Stardust's base, or where it should be heading, going to spot it.
Well, the gas bank up is certainly coming in quite nicely here for Stardust, so there is the opportunity to even go, you know, Stargate before Nexus here, and, well, there you go.
Yeah, Stargate before Nexus. So it's going to be an Oracle. It's going to be a single, it could go 2, I suppose. But either way, it's most likely just going to be an Oracle here, then expanding behind it. When you dedicate to a tech structure before taking your second base here, which Nerchio is clearly seeing, you have to get damage done. But with the way that Nerchio is playing, taking 3 hatcheries before adding on anything at this point. He's only got a single queen out at the moment. And Oracles can beat queens one-on-one. Let's have a look how much damage can be done.
And the funny thing is that probe, it poked over, really didn't see anything. It saw the lack of a 3rd base over at this location just shy south of the main base, but that's about it. And also, the Overlord and Zerglings, they're noticing a distinct lack of Nexus for quite a while here. So the Overlord's going to poke in, and it's actually just going to scoot past.
Because the regular spot would be the most common place is on the left-hand side where the Stargate actually is. But for Nerchio, he's like, nah, he wouldn't put it there because it's harder for me to scout in the bottom right of the base. So he's looking down there to see if it's DTs. I think he actually managed to get a Zergling in, and he's scouting the bottom right, which means the Overlord, to be honest, should turn left. Since the base has been almost fully scouted apart from that bottom left, he has no idea about the Oracle yet.
Jeez.
And there is the Stalker and Zealot with the Oracle on the other side as well.
And he just built 12 Zerglings, which are not going to do anything, really, against that Oracle. Of course, they're there to shoo away and deter the Zealot and Stalker poke, but the Oracle now flies in. He's going to start working on 1 queen, but a second one down there very quickly to rendezvous along with that, and should be able to push it back. So only a queen kill so far for the Oracle is not the most amazing, but the main base is completely exposed.
Yeah, still got 10 energy left, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. It does run out very, very fast.
And ooh, gets away with 1 health.
But remember, these Zerglings are on the other side of the map. They can pick off the pylon here, and I think the Mothership Core won't be able to stop them.
2 more gateways get added on, and the Sentry chrono boosted out desperately to actually wall that off against the Zerglings. But Stardust supply blocked, whilst we have Nerchio on 3 hatcheries.
That didn't quite work as well as Stardust had hoped. I definitely think he was hoping to get more than just a single queen kill there, because if you look at the economy difference between the both of them, especially when you consider how much lava is available to be spent into drones, Nerchio's going to fly ahead very shortly.
He really is. And all he has to do is bring those Zerglings around, chase down that Stalker. Of course, does not actually have speed on the way anytime soon, but if he's able to get a nice surround, if he's... well, no. So the Stalker should be able to mosey on away for now. As Nerchio, well, 10 drones in production, and he's going to fly.
And a Void Ray's being made here. 2 reasons for the Void Ray. Well, I guess it's just one in Stardust's case. To be aggressive, you can always fall back to take a fast third. But he's going to be aggressive, I think, towards this left-hand side. A pylon has been placed down. Those gateways are finishing up, which Nerchio is on top of it now. Sees those gateways, can imagine that something will be coming. He's building 16 additional Zerglings here. The Oracle will be used with these gateway units and with the Void Ray.
Well, this pylon has not been spotted here for Nerchio. The funny thing is that Nerchio, I mean, he completely ran past it in terms of looking for something like that down the left-hand side. But now he's going to see the probe. And will he? Well, he sees all the units now, so he has to prepare. He's already got the Roach on the way. He's freeing up some supply with 3 Overlords, but can he buy enough time? That's quite a lot of Zerglings he has.
There is a Spore and Spine there too, which makes this push kind of difficult to use the Void Ray and Oracle efficiently here.
Robo as well as Gateways are going to try and follow this up for Stardust, but realistically, if he loses any of those sentries in this push, that's a lot of gas down the drain. Nerchio hopes forwards with the Queen to have a look around, and he knows exactly what's going to be greeting him.
Takes a bit of damage there.
And the Zerglings get a... Oh! I'm not really sure that those force fields were the most amazing, as they seal all the Zerglings in with this. Yes, they weren't able to get the full surround because they weren't able to escape from the force fields, but they were still doing a lot of damage. And Nerchio now is just going to crush this back, and Stardust doesn't have a huge amount of options left.
No, he warps in a couple more zealots to help out these sentries, but he's lost a lot here. He's losing the forward pylon, he's losing the sentry count, he's only down to 1. Nerchio builds 6 drones, 7 drones. He's comfortable in the position he's in, and I think he absolutely should be from this point. He's deflected Stardust again here.
Very, very difficult now for Stardust to have an ulterior plan. Of course, there is those extra gateways, there is the Robo, but, you know, how well is Chrono Boosted Immortals, if he's actually going to focus the Chrono Boost into them, going to really work from here on out? I think that Stardust somehow has to try and play it out, but even that's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, the overall gameplay here is just Stardust being aggressive and attacking, and we're kind of seeing if Nerchio can defend it or not. And every time we've seen so far, he has been able to. From this position, it's not like Stardust can sit back and do another attack. He has to take an expansion now. But that allows Nerchio to build up to a massive drone count. Even though he hasn't seen the 3rd base, you can imagine that's probably most likely what's going to happen here. And he spots it now with Zerglings. So from this position, as soon as the layer is done, I'd imagine, with all 6 gases being put down, he may try the Spire again.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go Hydralisk. I think the most common answer is to go Hydralisk here, but I think he may try the Spire again.
I would agree with that. I mean, it's going to be very difficult for Stardust to actually prepare anything against that, whilst also trying to get his 3rd base up, whilst trying to deal with Lings that could quite easily be aggressive themselves. I mean, he's trying to open up rocks even with these Roaches, just so that the Lings could get there maybe a smidge quicker from that 3rd base. But other than that, wait, did he? He did get speed. Yeah, he did get speed. What am I on about?
Yeah, and he's put the Spire in that natural mineral line. He's trying to put Overlords over it to hide it. So he's got the Spire in the way, and I think this is a good choice. There's no Phoenixes out there, but he has to be careful a little bit, because there is another small movement out here, which is a little bit unexpected, a little bit random from Nerchio's standpoint here. He has no idea that why this would be coming at this certain time, considering he has seen that 3rd base go down. And of course, there's so much more that Stardust has behind it, because he's trying to go over to Colossus. He can further his upgrades, but this push out here is a little bit random. Has Nerchio got what it takes to stop it?
Does he even have enough force fields to deny some kind of flank if that was going to come in? But actually, he's going to use the Zerglings just to go straight to the 3rd base whilst trying to defend against this. And actually, he's going to lose his 3rd base here, but in trade,
but he has another one, you see.
Yeah.
So if he can do a lot of damage on the flip side in Stardust's base while just droning on another base, this is perfect.
First Colossus is on the way. Really needs to be out very quickly, though. Otherwise, the Zerglings are absolutely going to go to town. The third base did end up dying off for Nerchio, and the Zerglings are going to try and run into the main. So
he should pick off the third Nexus here, I think, is with the Zerglings.
yeah, and that would really cripple his opponent's economy. But it's 41 workers to 61, but triple Chrono Boost across 3 Nexi. That could certainly give Stardust a leg back up into this game.
Well, there's also 18 Mutilus, so
yeah, I just
and
saw
there's
that.
not a lot of anti-air at this point. There is hardly anything. There's no Blink this time. There's no +2 this time. There's only a single Phoenix just now being built.
And the fact that, I mean, Nerchio poked in there and saw that Robo Bay Tech was pretty much Stardust's focus. I mean, this is good for the Mutalists.
Stardust has no idea yet.
I didn't think Oracle saw it.
Third.
Yeah.
I was watching the Oracle, hasn't seen it yet.
Oh, jeez. That's a brutal.
2 Phoenixes on the left-hand side. He's looking. He wants to know, is it Hydralisk? Is it Mulus? What do I need to build? He's throwing down an extra starport anyway. But as you can see, a little bit too late. Nerchio's just going to run circles around him. He's got no mobility here.
Yeah.
Good moves from Nerchio.
Very, very little anti-air. He's got 9 Stalkers and 2 Phoenix. The 2 Phoenix now move in, but at the same time, Photon Overcharge will try and deal with this, but Nerchio, I mean, he's got free reign over this game. There's another Stargate going down for Stardust, but
he's also down at 36 probes, 35 probes or so.
Very, very tough here for Stardust. Nerchio playing out game number 3 very nicely, being able to deal with any kind of aggression that Stardust threw at him, and another 10 probes have gone down. 42 probes dead in this entire game.
Yeah, and he's just rebuilding. He's taken a 4th and a 5th base, which will never be spotted, really, and the 4th base to the top left. And, well, he's in great position. He can pick off a Colossus here. A bit of a mistake to have that Colossus by itself. And Nerchio's going to have to put everything together for one final hold. And I think he should have enough. As long as the Mutalists pick off the Colossus first, so that the Zerglings don't get all fried.
Yeah, and then he's going to have the easiest time against this army, especially since there's really not that many force fields left in here at all. Maybe throw a few down, but it doesn't really matter. He doesn't actually do anything. And there you go. That's probably going to end the game as Nerchio absolutely destroys the majority of this army. The Colossus will end up falling at the very end. But that's too many Mutalisks.
And Stardust is about to get knocked down to the lower bracket. Good game. And Nerchio moves into the round of 8 with a 2-1 victory over My Insanity Stardust. And will now be looking to face up against either Grubby or Teffel in the next rounds.
Yeah, and that's for Nerchio, knowing him quite well. That's a satisfying victory for Nerchio.
I'm sure it is.
He'll be very content with that. But the road is certainly not over yet. There's still a lot of good players in this bracket. Do we have any updates in the bracket, actually, Sean?
I'll have a look.
Alrighty. But still a lot of good players here, as we said before.
4GG versus Happy is in the quarterfinals. 4GG beat Harston, and Happy beat Titan. Mana beat TLO. And those are the only official bracket updates so far.
As we said yesterday, this tournament's pretty important for Mana, currently teamless after recently leaving Mousesport. So any victories that he can get, and especially if he can move on to Cologne, that's a big win for him. He absolutely needs to prove himself in the coming weeks.